Hey, it's Julian with Motorize Electric Vehicles and Motorize Detail Studio. I'm going to share with you guys something quick about Tesla paint. This is a 2019 Model 3. It's got about 40,000 kilometers on it, and it's just coming into our detail studio for a paint correction. And the term paint correction refers to any kind of cosmetic correction, for lack of a better word, in order to bring out the most from the gloss and the luster of the paint. Now, from the factory, they're pretty shiny and they look pretty good, but there are lots of little defects that we can actually remove and polish out to improve the reflectivity and the depth of the shine within the paint. So I've got a couple of tools here. We want to know, A, is this original paint, so we can judge how soft or hard it is before we start polishing. Also, we want to know which panels on the car have received another coat of paint, if ever, during the car's life, because the polishing technique may differ on a panel that's been repainted at a body shop. So this tool is really handy for measuring the thickness of the paint around the car. We'll take a couple of measurements here on this panel. It looks like we've got 152 microns, so that's the primer, the base coat, and the clear. We'll measure over here at the back of the same panel. It looks like we have 111, so it's a little bit thinner back here. We can check another panel right over here. We'll do the trunk lid. And I can't see what it says there because I'm blind and old. 155. So we've taken measurements all over the car, and we found anything from the mid 90s, 90 microns, up to about 160 or 170. Now we're going to show you a couple of dust nibs on the car. Because we know this is factory paint, we know that that dust nib, which is just literally a piece of dust stuck in the clear coat, there's another one right here, there's another one right here, and then there's what we call a fisheye over here. There's a couple other little defects. So what we're doing with this car is we're going to make the most out of the factory paint by removing the defects that we can see. So we're going to have a look at this panel in a couple of minutes after some wet sanding and polishing, and we'll see what the comparison is between the before and after. See you soon. Okay, so we've spent a few minutes to do some wet sanding on the car. We've used a 1500 grit wet dry sandpaper on the back of a foam block. This foam block right here is a really cool tool for working on paint. It allows us to put a fairly even measured amount of pressure on the paint through an abrasive material. And it's not going to damage the clear coat. It's simply going to remove all the high spots. And in this case, we get the benefit of removing some of the orange peel, which is a slight texture within the clear coat, in addition to knocking down those high spots that were caused by little bits of dust in the paint. So now I'm going to wipe it dry, and we'll see if those dust spots are still visible. If I've done my job correctly, they'll be gone. We're using a really soft microfiber. During the course of refinishing any kind of paint work, doing paint correction or applying polishes or sealants or anything of that nature, we're going to use a super clean, really high quality microfiber cloth that doesn't run any risk of scratching the paint. So now you can see the paint is starting to dry out, and the pattern of my sanding will be revealed. We can look in here and notice the paint looks a lot different. Now you'll notice that there's absolutely no gloss left. I've actually sanded the gloss right off the paint, and I know there's some cars running around town that look like this all the time. So after a little bit of quick polishing with the rotary, we're going to put the gloss back on top of this. If we look really close here, we can see where the biggest dirt nib was. So I have the option, depending on how much time we want to put into this paint correction, we have the option to continue wet sanding here and here, remove a tiny bit more of the clear coat, maybe 2 or 3 more microns, and then polish it out. But I think for this job, we don't need to go any deeper. I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different dirt nibs. There's actually 7 and 8 over here. So we've got 8 dirt nibs that we've actually leveled off. So we're going to check back in a minute after a rotary polish with a heavy cut compound, and we'll see whether we can turn this into a perfect glossy finish that is more shiny and more lustrous than the factory Tesla paint. Hey, okay, so I've spent just a few minutes doing some wet sanding and polished over this portion of the vehicle. The intention here was to get rid of the dust nibs. Now, when we're trying to remove imperfections in paint, we have to be careful. We don't want to remove too much of the clear coat, and every time we do a wet sand or a polish or a paint correction, we do remove a small amount. So the intention of the detail or paint correction in a vehicle is to get the most amount of appearance improvement out of the paint with or by removing the least amount of clear coat. This right here is just the remnants of the compound that we've been using. So as I wipe over this, we will uncover what's underneath and see if we have any dust nibs left. I'll fold this over with each wipe. And looks like we've got a nice glossy finish here. That looks better. So this car had some fairly significant defects in it. And now, if we look right here, right in front of my finger, that's the remnants of one of the dust nibs. There's another remnant right in front of that finger. And there's another remnant right there and right there. But the appearance of those has been reduced by 80 or 90%. And so what that means is, unless you have a trained eye looking for that imperfection, you're not going to be able to find it. So for example, when we're doing a ceramic coat on a vehicle, the value of the ceramic coating job is not only the actual product that we're applying to the surface of the paint, but it's also the number of hours that go into the car for paint correction to uncover the paint's gloss to make it look the way it should look before we seal that in with the ceramic coating. So I hope you've learned something today about paint, dust nibs, wet sanding, polishing, and surface prep. Just in case you're looking and you notice it's a little bit hazy on here still, this is not a final polish. This was what we call a rough cut, and essentially all we've done here is manipulated the surface to make it as smooth as possible, but we haven't actually put the shine on yet. After this step, which was, we used a big wool pad on a rotary buffer. The next step that we're going to use is called a dual action polisher or machine. And we're going to go over this and actually complete a new micro finish on this paint that's going to make it super glossy. You can watch for this website or watch for this vehicle to show up on our website soon and see how good it looks in the photos. Thanks a lot.
On the inside and out, if you know what I mean. And I'm back on the road again. I'm back.